She's fast. Oh, that was pretty rough. Now, I'm tell you up front, first of all, this guy flew phenomenally. I mean, it flew extremely well. I was actually able to also track to see how fast it was going, get some information from my from the computer. Basically, it was actually going about 57 miles an hour, top speed, and the passes, it was doing phenomenally well. One of the things, and I'll tell you, I used a 33 milliamp hour battery. This is the battery that was in it. I can tell you with the motors, the ESC, one of the issues that was happening is I noticed that when I went full throttle, my motors were pulsating. And I'm not exactly sure why, other than the fact that these two motors together were pulling a lot from the battery, and maybe for some reason it was not getting enough. I'm gonna do some research to try to figure that part out. If you happen to know why my motors would be pulsating at full throttle, drop that down in the comment section. I'd love to hear that. But my first takeoff, it was doing that, and it was about to lift off the ground, and I backed off the throttle and just let it stay on the ground. Went back out and got it, tried it again, and went ahead and flew. I said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and let it go in the air. It started doing the same thing at full throttle. I just backed off the throttle just a little bit, and that seemed to solve that issue. Now, I do have differential thrust programmed into it. Maybe that had something to do with it. Or maybe it was across for some wires and the way some things were set up. I don't know what it was. For the amount of current that was going through, there was some interference causing that to happen. I'm not exactly sure why, but it was happening. But as long as I did not go absolute max on the throttle, it flew fine. And she was flying well. I did not try. I actually didn't get a lot of altitude. I was just flying circles around the field. And I'm used to 5-minute flight times, and we basically kept this guy in the air for about five minutes. You'll possibly get a feel for that in the video because you'll hear the flight timer. I actually made sure I reset my flight timer so you can get the actual time of flight in the air from the radio. So if you're listening, you can hear the flight timer, but you can also hear my battery, my radio announcing the battery voltage. And that's one of the things I think got me. This is a 4S battery. That and each of the cells fully charged is about 4.2, and I'm pretty sure I charged this guy up to 4.2. I may have charged him up to 4.19, just to save the battery just a little bit. I may not have charged it fully, but it was at least 1.49. Excuse me, it was at least 4.19 per cell, and that times 4 is 16 volts. And so when at one point I'm hearing the radio announce, I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have, hear the radio announcing that it was down to 14 volts. And at 14 volts divided by 4, that's pretty low per cell. 14 volts divided by 4 means that I had 3.5 volts per cell. At 14 volts, I should have been landing. Actually, at about 14.5 or so, I should have been landing. And I flew a couple of more passes on the field at 14 volts. Because again, I'm thinking that this battery is going to be plenty. And I wasn't looking, because this plane is not one that you want to look away from while you're flying it. And I was not checking the voltage on my radio screen. I was listening, but I was so focused on flying the plane that I was missing the voltage. So when I heard that 14 and I realized that 14 volts is less than 3.6 per cell. I need to land this thing. I went ahead and tried to come in for a landing. Now, I'm not going to blame the battery for my crash. I'm not going to do that. I know that that was pilot error. I came in a little low on the other end of the field, and I believe I dropped the throttle just a little bit too much, and so she nosed into the ground. Oh. But had I not done that, I mean, I came close to landing this plane quite a few times, almost going full speed, and I was a little concerned about that because I had her cruising. Like I said, max at 57 miles an hour. That was pretty good. Had it cruising, but I was really concerned about it. So at that point, toward the end, I said, let me go ahead and bring this guy in. And when I came in for the approach, like I said, I let off the throttle just a little bit too much, I believe. She dipped in altitude. I wasn't pulling back enough on the elevator. She touched down nose first into the ground. And that was a really wonky little turn that it made at the end, and you'll notice that. Really kind of wonky little turn, and she nosed into the ground and splat. You know, and this is what we end up with. This gob of mess that we have here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this guy back together. I'm going to try to glue it together pretty well. We'll see if I decide I'm going to take it out for another flight or not. But I have the radio set up perfectly. And my receiver's there. All of my electronics are still good. And I still have another set of props for it. So I may decide to try to take this guy out for a second flight. But even if I don't, the idea is at some point I'm going to strip this guy of the electronics. And then I'm going to build another one. And so I'm actually going to order the kit. I'm not going to try to cut the foam myself. I've realized that I'm not good at that. Trying to put plans together and cut foam, no. If I had a laser cutter, I would do it, but I don't, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and order the kit. And for the flight test planes, that's what I'll do. Any of my personal planes, DIY builds that I'm going to do, I will build those out myself. And I will cut them by hand. But for these, I'll just stick with their plans, with their builds. I'll just buy them from them. I'll probably source my own electronics, as I have been doing, but I'll just buy them from them. I still have my tutor, which has wrecked numerous times. That tutor has crashed a couple of times and is still flyable. Like I said, this is fixable. Believe it or not, it's fixable. And I might even be able to reinforce this wing a little bit in the process. And I'll be thinking about that. And I did actually add some reinforcement. You can barely see that because I actually added some more paint to the bottom. And I blackened the back end to give it a little bit more of that wear because it was solid. But I put cards in here. This one broke off. The one that's on the other side also broke off. It was reinforcing on that side. So I put those cards in, but most likely I'm going to just go ahead and try to rebuild. I'll put this guy back together and put him back on the wall. We'll see if we take him out for a flight again. So the actual full flight video is going to come up next. And so you'll see that here in the next 30 minutes or so if you're watching this as this is posted. If not, you will see the video, including the crash, in the next video. So thanks so much for coming by and checking this out with me and experiencing this. This is what it's like. This is what it's like when you build your planes and take them out and fly them and know that, you know, this kind of thing happens. You're going to crash. And so it's not a matter of if you're going to crash, it's when you're going to crash. And this one was a pretty bad one. And it won't be my last. So thanks so much for coming by and sharing this experience with me. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. I have to say she's a handful.